So I'm waiting for a couple of bits to be able to get the dash in, but as well as the things I've had to order, I want to build the wiring loom for the overdrive. Now this is going to run from the column switch, through the bulkhead on the other side, and down to the gearbox, and it means that having the dash out is going to make actually laying out that wiring much easier. So let's get on and get it built. First thing I'm going to do is mount the relay on the bulkhead, and very fortunately this spacing is exactly right to fit it where the control box used to sit. So I've reworked the wiring loom. The car came with an alternator a long time ago. I'm not going back to a dynamo, so I've reworked the wiring loom to eliminate the control box, and the overdrive relay is going to go in its place. I'm going to make some little mounting washers. I was going to use rubber, but I've still got this bit of leather kicking around, and then get it on the bulkhead. Yeah, I'd say this has been used to punch rubber at some point in the past, and it's all disintegrated inside there. So that's it on the bulkhead. I'm quite pleased with the position because means I don't have to drill any more holes in the car, and it looks like it could be period, which is quite a nice thing. I'm quite keen on that. Anyway, so that gives us our positions of everything that's going to be connected to this circuit. So I can start fishing out some wire. So I've been laying out the wires in the cabin. This is a yellow and green. They connect to the column switch. I'm trying as much as possible to stick with the standard wiring colours, even though this is not standard for a Herald. Got a branch down here, which is the brown live and white switched, and they're all heading out of the cabin in the corner there. I'm going to break the brown and fuse it. See the brown. Okay, let's pause for a moment and have a look at a wiring diagram. Now the circuit's pretty simple. Got a relay that when activated connects our brown 12 volt live wire to a yellow purple, and that's connected to our solenoid, and when activated switches our solenoid on. Our other two connections to the relay are the 12 volt white feed from the ignition switch and a yellow green that connects to ground via two switches. In order to activate the relay, both our column switch and our safety switch on the gearbox have got to be in the on position. Now the brown 12 volt wire is the one that takes the high switching current of the D-type overdrive solenoid, so that's the one I'm going to be fusing. Right, so I've now got all the wire laid out. So this will connect to our column switch, switched and permanent live power. Got a little loop in the brown there, in the corner. I was going to get the fuse installed in that. And under here we've got the two that will connect to the isolator switch, or the interlock switch. And to our coil. Here on the bulkhead, got earth, which is going to go to the battery earth point. Our live and our coil feed that will be joined together when the relay is closed. And we've got our white power and our switch power and our connection to the column switch, which will actually close the relay. So with that all laid out, I'm going to get some of these wires cut, pull the whole thing out, wrap it together and fit the connectors, and that should be it. Right, well that's all the connectors on, so let's go get it into the car and check it's going to work. It's not going to it was a slightly janky test setup. Down in the corner here we've got the solenoid connected up. I'll put the equivalent terminals for a modern one on screen, but your two switch power, so white from the ignition switch, goes to W1. The brown from live feed, on switch to live feed, goes to C1. The feed to the solenoid is C2, and your switch, or pair of switches, go to W2. Though you could swap the two W's and swap the two C's if you wanted. It doesn't actually make a difference. So this is the column switch. It's on. And if I be the gear shift, you can hear the relay and the solenoid clicking. So I'll get all that wiring off, pull the whole lot out again and get it wrapped up. So there we go, all wrapped up and ready to be installed. Now I was thinking I'd have to wait till I got the grommets for the bulkhead in order to finish this up and put the dash in, but I don't really, do I? Because this is built. I can hang it on. The main loom's hung on. And then the grommet can be fit from the engine bay. Well, I'll just get that done then. So I've been making slightly slow progress because it's been snowy here the past couple of days, and the sort of thaw and refreeze, so there's ice under the snow type of snowy. So we've not had post for a little bit, so my grommets and such have not arrived. What I can do, what I'm going to do now, is make one of these. Now these little plastic rings go between the body and the wiper box. Sorry, they go between the body and the nut to hold the wiper box on. And the one on the passenger side was broken and took it off. They break quite commonly, and I thought you couldn't buy them. So most places you can't. But I did. So I bought some material, and I'm going to make one of these things. You can get them on eBay from Mark Field, who's now trading as Le Mans-R on eBay. He does sell these. I think it was about £4.80 for 2. But I've already bought a bit of Delrin to turn and make myself my own. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to fit it. New and the old. Let's go and check it actually fits. So there's the new one and the original one, both in place. So, a little job, but I guess the whole thing is made up of tiny little jobs. It's nose thawed, I got from Post. So, a few bolts. And my bits from Canley's. So those are, that's the wiring harness grommet. That one is the one for the one for the wiper tubing. So that goes, that holds the cable that the wiper motor drives. I've also got a new washer jet, which excitingly is it's always exciting when something comes in a unipart bag, because they should have a little glass bead inside the jet. Now one of the ones on the car didn't have that, and I think that's probably why it didn't work quite as well as the other one. So that's going in, and if I do that, my grommets, with the bolts I can get the master cylinders mounted, which means I can get the brake line made, because I need to take the heater box out again to put the brake line underneath it. But with all that done, I can get the dash in, or rather I can get the dash in and not then have to crawl underneath it quite so much to fill up the bits and pieces. So I was going to get a couple of these things thrown on, and then we'll come back when there's something interesting happening. Okay, so I've got my new grommet installed for the wiper rack, and I'm just about to feed the cable in. Actually, you know what, I'm going to take the wiper motor off first. So, right, so anyway, got to feed our cable in here. This actually has fairly fresh grease on it, so I'm not cleaning it off completely, because I already did that job a year or so ago. This is a water resistant grease that's sold. I bought it off a boat supply place. There might be, you'll feel a little bit of a hitch as it goes through the wheel boxes. It might need a bit of a wiggle back and forth, but it should just go in. The next bit is to take off these 4 screws that hold the cover on the wiper motor, and this is where this fitting slots in. This is all made slightly awkward by the fact that you can't just take the whole thing off. We're still connected by the wire here, and on a Herald you've got to be looking the wrong way into the engine bay. So this motor is fairly freshly cleaned up and packed with new grease. So what we've got to do now is pull off this clip, lift off this brass contact, lift out the arm, and then that enables us to get this engaged with it. Important the arm goes back, or the contact goes back in that direction. Not that it would do a lot if you put it the other way around. Right, with that all connected up, and get the electronics on. So these do vary, these wire colours do vary by car, so they're different on the Spitfire, despite the motor being the same. Fortunately on the original Loom, which I have, you can't get them wrong, because there's a tab on the terminal that goes there, and matches the hole, the slot in the motor. But if you do have a different Loom, it's white in there. Like is clear the earth, and this is black with green, which is terminal 1. So the whites are power from the ignition switch. Black with green is our actual wiper switch. So I'm going to put the washer bottle in. This is our ground here. Earth. Just get on there. Before I hide this away in the bottom of the wash bottle, you need a one-way valve in these systems. You can use the original hand pump, and that's because the actual pump is just a push in and out. So if you have no valve, it will just pump in and out from both of the connectors. Now, what you can buy the valves that look like the original valves, but you can also buy extremely cheap ones designed for fish tank airlines, which is what this is and what I was using. So I'm just going to get the bracket and the bottle installed, and then go on to a couple of other things. So I've got a bit further on, pedals on, and this brake line's made. So I've just taken off a steel line. I'm pretty convinced it's a factory steel line. So this is the routing I had and have reproduced. This loop up under the clutch cylinder, under the heater box, around clip holding it to the bulkhead that's as part of what's holding down the coil. Loop down against the bulkhead, around, and then loop up to drop into that union. So I've just got I'm going to check a couple of bits about where the loom is supposed to sit. I'm pretty sure I've got my solenoid the correct way around, but I'm going to double check. Then I can get the rest of the loom laid in and routed. That's probably me. I'll stick the flasher unit on, connect up the overdrive solenoid, and that's then probably it for under the bonnet for the time being, until there's something to fill this hole. Okay, so that should be everything on the bulkhead that I can do for the moment. There's a couple of things missing, like the speedo cable and the choke and heater cables, because the speedo cable doesn't need the dash in, but I've got nothing to connect it to at either end at the moment, and the choke and the heater do need the dash because they go through it. And just because this took me a while to figure out, or remember/figure out, the main wiring loom does kind of run around the coil and then over and down the bulkhead here. Which does make sense, because otherwise this angle around the battery box would be really sharp. You'd be bending the wires. So that sort of wiggle is obviously to keep the strain off. So this bolt here was something I was really struggling to remember the purpose of. I remembered it having been a bolt with a large washer. I couldn't remember what it held at all. What it is this bracket, and that's the lower mount for the steering column, which I'll have a look at in the next episode. But for now, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Got the wiring loom built, overdrive wiring loom built, and then all the bulkhead fitted up as much as it can be. And next, I'm going to be looking at dashboard, and at that point, I'm going to have to wait for the engine, I think. For now, thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, and see you next time.